Hello my friends, and welcome back to another Brotato Danger 5 random run, where we take a random character, random weapon, and try to beat Danger 5 with it. Hope you're all doing well. Let's see what we've got today. We've got the Hunter. Okay, so Hunter we have not yet done, and this is, of course, a difficult character for random weapon challenges. There's a couple weapons that are pretty weak here. In particular, hiking pole is not great. Shotgun, I think, isn't amazing for Hunter either, and some melee weapons like claws and scissors can struggle with your low HP. So let's roll and see what weapon we get. Alright, crossbow we're going to reroll, because of course I used that for my class guide with Hunter, and we've got the Cacti Club. Cacti Club, not the best, but I think not the worst option for Hunter either, because the bonus HP from the primitive weapon tag at least is extremely relevant for this character. The extra range on Cacti Club, definitely not great, because this is already a weapon that attacks extremely slow. So the only thing we really care about is increasing its attack speed. Increasing its range lowers its attack speed because of how melee weapons work, so that can be a challenge. Now with the Hunter, of course, we cannot use harvesting, so there's no point in re-rolling for harvesting. And we're going to have to buy as much HP as we can find, because we have vastly reduced HP modifiers, which makes it much more difficult to get enough HP to support this melee weapon. I could roll for attack speed, I could roll for luck, but I think I'm just going to take an armor here. Getting some early armor will, of course, be very helpful for this character. And then we're going to buy a Cacti Club. Lost Duck, we will lock. We can use Lifesteal. Because we're Cacti Clubs, we have the advantage of being able to use Lifesteal despite being a melee weapon, because it fires all the range projectiles. But I think I don't need to lock Butterfly. I feel like we can do better. And then we're going to lock another Cacti Club. We're actually, I would say, pretty lucky in rolling 3 clubs and a 4th locked in the first shop, because Cacti Club has 2 weapon tags and is a primitive weapon, which is the largest weapon tag in the game, so you're very likely not to roll into Cacti Clubs if you're rolling for them specifically. So we got a little fortunate there. I don't think I'll have the damage to kill this tree. Yeah, I went over there anyways because I could just kill the enemies that were there, and that was fine. So we could take 15 range, but something about the Hunter is that you get 1% damage for every 10 range you have. That is a terrible ratio. Buying range on the Hunter, unless you're playing with crossbows, is pretty much useless, the same as range normally is, because you would much rather roll for damage. Now, there's a couple times where you get really efficient range upgrades where it's fine, but 5% damage or 1.5 damage, obviously the choice is clear. I'm going to take 5 attack speed here, because of course we want to attack faster with this weapon that otherwise attacks very slowly. We have to buy pretty much all the health that we find, and then we can lock another Cacti Club, which is great. There's often, I would say, a misconception about the Hunter where people will buy things like items like glasses or take range early because the game tells you that you should buy range on this character, but you shouldn't, because the bonuses are just not worth what you spend on them compared to being able to get that stat in a much more efficient way from just buying the stat itself. Definitely take the box here. We'll buy luck. Because we can't use harvesting, luck is one of the few ways we can actually boost our economy. And Pearl, of course, is going to benefit from any luck that we get, and there's a chance that we get more free pearls. I will here just take a level 2 upgrade. Again, we don't need to roll for harvesting, so there's not a particular thing that we need to focus on finding early. So just getting the early movement speed will help a lot, and then we will take some luck. We will buy Cacti Club and the 2 luck items. No, I can't quite afford those, but I'll buy Propeller Hat, I guess, and Cake. No, that was actually a mistake. I should have bought the Lost Duck and the Cake, and then I could have re-rolled and looked for another Cacti Club. So I did the math wrong there and thought I would still have a re-roll, but that was actually a poor shopping choice by me. So I need to find some more melee damage. On Cacti Club, you don't usually want to buy ranged damage. The ratio is, again, just too poor. So you pretty much use Cacti Club as just a melee primitive weapon, which is, of course, is a good thing to be, that can also benefit from lifesteal because it fires a bunch of extra projectiles, which will then randomly lifesteal for you. The fact that we're Hunter but have managed to collect 20 HP is definitely in our favor, though. Definitely can't take the harvesting here, and I have to keep reminding myself of that because obviously my natural inclination is to grab 8 harvesting when it shows up, when it throws up. I'm going to take 10 luck, and then we will take 8 more luck, which is also giving us a little bit of damage off the pearl. Not that much, but it's certainly not the worst thing here. Take another Cacti Club, which is great, boosting our percent damage and maxing out our primitive weapon tag. Losing a melee damage is painful, and dodge is worse for this character with our low HP total, because dodge just effectively multiplies your HP, and and we don't benefit from harvesting. So we don't want Peaceful Bee. Baby Gecko is nice. This is an item that we would be kind of interested in anyways. Adding 1% damage to this item does make it a little bit better, but I think we'll take the Goat Skull. Even though it will reduce our crit chance more, and we will want to build crit chance, melee damage is really important to us right now. Then I'm going to roll, looking for another club. I'd say we're doing reasonably well. I think the item that we want most at this point is Bag. We have over 30 luck already, so we're fairly likely to drop a lot of consumables and a lot of crates. So Bag is, again, one of the ways that we can actually increase our economy, which would be very powerful for this character. I also need some regeneration. Currently we have no way to heal at all, and with a slow attacking melee weapon like Cacti Club, we definitely need to be able to heal, because it's going to be very hard to avoid taking damage. Here, I will, again, just take 10 more luck, and we'll grab 3 regeneration. Mostly just going to grab any level ups that show up at over level 1, because that just gives us the most possible value. We'll take the Baby Gecko, and then do a reroll here. I'll grab Cake and Penguin. Again, we have to buy, even though we only get 2 HP from the Cake, so it's at a worse ratio. You kind of just need a minimum amount of HP to be able to play the game at all. So we have to buy HP when it shows up in even remotely reasonable ways. Scar is great. This, again, is an economy item we can actually benefit from. And Small Magazine is surprisingly good for this character because attack speed is so important to Cacti Club. So I think we actually will buy this. 95 for 10% attack speed, and it costs us 6 damage. Not good. And the bonus damage from the bonus range damage is mostly useless, but attack speed is so important that we just have to spend that money. I'm also going to reroll here, and we'll lock a Cacti Club and a recycling machine. So another solid economy item that we can use despite not being able to use harvesting. Alright, so I need some more melee damage. Our damage is fairly low at this point. Hunter, I think, is one of the characters that people really underestimate how difficult it is. I think this is one of the bottom 10 or so characters, just because the HP penalty and not being able to use harvesting, so you're behind in HP because you're leveling up less and have less money, and then you buy HP at a worse ratio. Just makes the character very difficult. I'm going to take 10% attack speed here, of course. I've already talked about how much we want that. And then we will upgrade our Cacti Club. So Cacti Club gets 5% increased melee damage ratio. The ranged damage ratio also increases, which is relevant, though still not super important. But mostly the benefit of leveling these up is that the base damage increases by 10, which is awesome, and they attack faster. We'll take a Scar here, and then we'll reroll. I'll pick up Tentacle. This is a way that we can heal pretty efficiently if we get just a little bit more crit chance, which is easier to buy on this character. Have to kill the healer enemies here, and then I'd like to stop at least one of these slashers from hatching if possible. Yeah, because our single target damage is so terrible, I really should have tried to get that other hatcher other egg not to hatch. So this is going to be a rough wave for us because I let the slashers hatch and I took a bunch of extra damage, which has put me in a pretty dangerous spot. So we're not going to make much money this wave. I'm just kind of trying to survive. Maximize the income that we can, and then just make it out of wave 7 if possible. All right, so we did that. 200, not great, but at least we survived. 15% attack speed is great. Decomposing flesh, so the health that we lose is still only the health that we would normally get when we level up. With the Hunter, your HP modifiers are reduced by 33%, so you only gain 1 bonus health every 2 out of 3 levels. Decomposing flesh just removes that, and the lifesteal is still incredibly useful. That said, losing HP on this character is very, very punishing. But I think that because healing is so critical, and because we are a primitive weapon build, so we're higher HP than you normally would be on the Hunter, we can get away with taking Decomposing Flesh, and that will solve the healing problems that we're having. Then we're going to take a Lost Duck as well. Up to 50 luck already? That's definitely not bad. Clockwork Wasp, I think we can pass on. This character can't afford to buy expensive speed boosting items like that. We do want to increase our movement speed, but it just doesn't do that much for us right now. I've got to find like a +6 melee damage level up or something, because our damage is terrible. I will also say, despite having 50 luck, we have not been, and also a recycling machine, so crates are better for us. We have not gotten lucky enough to actually drop that many crates. I think we're running pretty below expectations for number of crates dropped, given the luck that we have and the amount of enemies we've killed and everything. Although, of course, last wave we didn't kill that many enemies, and this wave we also struggled. This is level 10. I could take 3 armor, which would be great. I could take 7 crit chance, which would help heal, but I feel like I have to find melee damage, so I am going to reroll a couple times. Missed twice. I could take 4.5% damage, but again, the ratio there is terrible. So let's roll one more time. Ouch. Okay, well, I'll take 15 attack speed. That will still help. And then Jerky is a good way to heal. Our damage is awful, so I still need to find ways to increase that. Saltwater is one such way. And I'm taking the small magazine here because attack speed is going to be so important on wave 9. So wave 7 and 8 were both very bad for us. We kind of expected that. At least we got a crate this wave. I will say we're, excuse me, I will say we're also fairly lucky to have horde waves for this character, because we're going to be better at dealing with those than elites most of the time. Our health is low and our healing is bad, so horde waves will be a little bit easier, although I definitely need more healing and even more attack speed, also enough damage to actually kill the horde enemies in one swing. Trying to pick up as many of these materials as possible. Saw a loot alien over here. I don't think we're going to have the damage to kill it, but we at least made 400 materials this wave. Not bad for the Hunter, because we have no harvesting, so we're always behind in money. I'm going to go ahead and take 7% damage here. We will never get our weapons to swing faster than that, because even though we've bought a lot of attack speed, getting to 0.75 seconds would be basically impossible. So Ball and Chain is a great find for us. I could take 12% damage here. I have to find melee damage, though, but I think I still just have to buy the level 3 upgrade. And then, do I want max HP or 3 armor? I guess, again, we'll just take the level 3 upgrade. Okay, Barnacle is a good one. We do have a Scar, so we're going to level up a little bit faster. We got 2 melee damage there. We'll buy the Jerky, and then we'll do a reroll. I'll take a Gentle Alien. I definitely don't need a second Decomposing Flesh. Injection, normally pretty bad for the Hunter, because, of course, you can't lose HP. I did pick one up out of a box. Or I did buy one earlier, I guess. Do I want to buy another one? I think I'm actually going to roll, because I really need to find a melee damage upgrade. Scared Sausage we will actually take. We can benefit a lot from it because we have the Thorns, which can set enemies on fire, so that will make those have an actual impact on our wave clear. See, even the 2 melee damage that we got from the saltwater is really helping. A lot of stuff that's making this build a little bit harder than I think it normally would be. We're running pretty... Like, we bought a lot of luck and then are running very cold on crates. And then we also have not been offered any melee damage upgrades. Even when I rolled for them, we had a lot of trouble getting them. So, definitely some things going poorly, which we will have to deal with. But of course, this is a very difficult character with no economy boosts, so you expect to be behind in the mid-game. I could take 9 crit chance. I could take 8 HP, because our HP is really low. I think I'm going to take the crit chance, though, and then 20 attack speed, so the Barnacle definitely paying off. We'll take Gentle Alien, we'll take Scared Sausage, we'll take Coffee. I'll roll here. I definitely want the Whetstone. I could buy Handcuffs. Capping my max HP extremely low is quite risky. But 8 melee damage and 8 range damage, well, if you get a ton of range damage like this, the Thorns may start actually doing stuff. Could also buy Mutation, potentially, but I don't think we want that. I think I will roll past the Handcuffs, though. It's really expensive. And Bandana, unfortunately, I do have to pass. I'll lock a Cacti Club. I'll roll one more time, though. Okay, finally found an efficient melee damage boost. It's very possible I've rolled past some Cacti Clubs as well. I hope not, but... these things do happen. The cursed ribcage alien is very dangerous, of course. I do still want to boost curse, because, again, this is one of the few ways this character has access to actually improve its economy, is buying curse, meaning you drop more materials from enemies, and also you can potentially find cursed items, which is a huge economic benefit. But it is putting us at a little bit of risk because the cursed rib cages are so dangerous. Okay, there is a loot alien here. Unfortunately, I didn't have the damage to kill it. Blood Leech I will take. We obviously can't use harvesting, so we're going to take that. Okay, so now I have to decide, am I willing to cap my health at 28 in order to actually have damage? 28, of course, incredibly low for HP. It will make the elite and boss waves much more dangerous. On the other hand, this is a lot of stats for 100 materials. I think because we have a mastery locked in the shop, I'm going to recycle, and a recycling machine, I'm going to recycle the handcuffs. I think just having the 100 extra materials will matter more for us, and 28 is really low. This weapon also is going to be very poor at killing elites and bosses, and normally you would want a weapon that's good for killing bosses if you're going to cap your HP that low, because since we are going to struggle to kill them quickly, we will need to be able to heal through it. Definitely take the fin here. It does cost me luck, but move speed is something that we want. Gambling token and garden, I think we can pass on both of. We still don't want glasses. This character can't afford to buy nonsense like goldfish. We just need to find items that we actually want. Though padding, I will buy because any health that we can find is really good. I was still hoping to find some more increased levels for our Cacti Clubs as well, with all of those rerolls. But now that I've managed to find a bunch of melee damage upgrades, suddenly our weapons are actually killing stuff, which is the really important part for this character, of course. Okay. So I need to work my way around, pick up some consumables. We do have pretty good healing with all of our lifesteal and with the jerky and everything. So we are now at least at the point where we can tank a bit. But with my max HP being so low, of course, on the Hunter, that is always going to happen. I still need to be very, very careful about the damage that I'm taking. Very easy to just take, like, 2 charges in a row or walk into that cursed ribcage enemy and just pop immediately. I'm going to try to get this big group of enemies before the end of the wave there. Still no crates, also. I'll take 20 luck here, and then I will upgrade a Cacti Club, increase my HP. Missile, I don't want... Our percent damage is actually very good, and even with Ball and Chain, I still do want more attack speed. Cake, we'll take. Lumberjack Shirt, we'll take. We'll do a reroll here. I will lock another Cacti Club, buy a helmet, lock a Lost Duck. Okay, so this last couple waves has definitely helped. We're up to 32 HP, which is a lot better. It's much more comfortable than 28. We found a little bit more armor as well. Every level that we go up, of course, also improves our healing because we have Decomposing Flesh. So, the reason that I've passed a couple items with high potential value, but high downsides as well, so things like the handcuffs, is this character, I feel our main challenge is just going to be getting to 50 HP or so, where we don't get one-shot, because our healing is going to be excellent. So as long as I can get 50 HP and like 10, 15, even 20 armor, then we'll be in pretty good shape to be able to tank through the elites. And I've also managed to find enough damage that we can actually kill enemies now. So I don't want to put ourselves in a position where we are struggling to find health, or where we can just die in 2 charges like you saw last wave, where that was a real danger. 12 HP is incredible, of course. Now, this is only 8 HP in practice, but getting to 44 is awesome. We're gonna continue to upgrade our Cacti Clubs, take a Lost Duck. I will take another Sunglasses, or I will take a Sunglasses as well, because crit chance increases our damage output. Sniper Gun, normally an amazing find for the Hunter, of course, but we can't use it here, because it's a random weapon challenge. We will lock another Cacti Club, and go to wave 14. Ouch. Okay, I need to be quite careful here. I've let a few too many summons spawn, and it's kind of difficult not to, because I do have a lot of incidental damage around the map stuff going on this character. So we're killing the summoners a little more frequently than I would like to, and not in a controlled fashion. And 16 harvesting. I'll take 20% attack speed, though. That's great. A bag. Wow, it would have been so good to get this earlier. Snowball is actually vaguely interesting. So, like, we could do an elemental damage thing on this character, but I've already got -4, and I don't really want to focus on that. So we, of course, are going to pass on Snowball. Again, we can't afford speculative nonsense on the Hunter. This is just too weak a character to get away with that. I'll take the Cake, though, and Cacti Club we will definitely lock. Boxing Glove. So knockback is kind of interesting for this character. The Thorns can knock back enemies. On the other hand, we wouldn't get the knockback until after the Horde Wave, which is when we would actually care about it. So I'm going to roll past the Boxing Glove. Take a Cacti Club. I'm not going to lock an Injection either. Because, again, max HP, I think, is the stat that we really care about here. Okay, took a few hits here. Gonna run over and pick up some consumables. Definitely always gonna be a tough wave. Again, We've got a very slow attacking weapon, and it's a Horde Wave. I'm basically trying not to take too much damage, but I'm also trying to dip into these big groups of enemies to get a couple, like, huge swings. Because we've actually increased our damage output, we can clear most of these enemies in one swing, or, like, one attack pattern from our weapons. Leaving a lot of materials on the ground, that's fine. We'll just get those next wave. I'm going to definitely take Baby Gecko. Warrior Helmet, amazing. That's exactly the type of thing we want. I could start building Dodge. That is a way to increase our defensive capabilities, and if I find one more efficient dodge upgrade, then that would be pretty good. I could also reroll looking for regen, HP, melee damage. I think there's a lot of stuff that I would take over dodge. Yeah, 4 armor is better than 12 dodge here, so we'll just take that. Let's go ahead and do some upgrading. Roll. Coil, so I do have a decent amount of knockback. Or we have positive knockback anyways, so that's 7% damage off the coil, and knockback isn't totally useless. I still think that's pretty inefficient, though, so I'm just going to take the Insanity and the Plant. It does cost me a lifesteal, but regen is also really important. I'll lock Fin, and I will reroll here. We'll take a Scarf, or a Cacti Club. I do want the Scarf. I can't buy it in going into the Elite Wave, though. Gonna lock this, and we'll just hold it for next wave, probably, and then Rip and Tear costs me a huge amount of crit chance and doesn't actually do that much damage, so I think we're gonna pass on it. Again, you have to be very picky about what you buy on these types of characters, especially the Hunter with its lack of harvesting. You just can't afford to spend money on stuff that doesn't do anything, because you have less money and need to spend more money thanks to the lower HP. Which is basically an economic penalty, because you just have to spend a higher percentage of your income on health, and your overall income is lower. Still running really cold on crates, although. But at least we'll make a decent amount of money this wave. And we have reached the point where our regeneration is helping keep us alive pretty effectively. Campfire, I will take this. I dislike losing the move speed, but the 2 regen I think is going to be too good to pass up. Then do I want luck, armor, speed, or I could reroll for melee damage or something? I think I'm just going to take 4 more armor. I think at this point, the goal is just going to be to get to the point where we can't die, no matter how much damage is incoming. I don't want to buy 2% damage for 68 here. Hunting Trophy, even this late with 32% crit chance, the Hunting Trophy will pay off in like 2 waves, so we'll grab that, and then we'll reroll here. And I could have taken an Alien Tongue as well, but I don't think we need the pickup radius. And then for 30, we're not going to reroll. All right, let's check our damage against the Elite. I think with our attack speed being this low... no, I was going to say I didn't think we'd be able to kill it, but our damage is okay, and this Elite is pretty easy for us to fight. Not one of the ones that charges at us or charges past us, so we should, I think, be able to kill it pretty quickly, actually. So I've found a little bit more damage than I thought I had. I could even potentially have kept it alive a little longer to farm the summons, because we have Hunting Trophy, so it would have been pretty valuable to get some extra critical hit kills. But just killing the Elite efficiently so that it doesn't have time to kill us despite having only 50 hit points, I think is the most important thing here. Ashes, so losing armor, painful. Gaining 10% damage, or rather 30% damage, is obviously great. 20% attack speed, also great. And we still aren't, because this weapon attacks so slowly, we still aren't even at attack speed cap. And Kraken's Eye is one of the actual best items we could find. 10 HP, of course, just incredible there. I don't really need more lifesteal, so I'll roll past that, and then here I'm going to take 12% crit chance, just because it's a level 4 upgrade, and we will buy a scarf as well. Garden is solid healing, but healing isn't really the goal, it's just not getting popped in one shot. 64 materials off Hunting Trophy, not as strong as it could be, I think, but hopefully will still pay off here. And then Little Muscly Dude and Defective Steroids. This is exactly the type of item we've been missing this entire run, is just some melee damage and HP upgrades, so really happy to find those. Bait we can definitely take, we've got the healing for it, so even on wave 19, that'll be fine. So, a pretty dangerous wave because Scarf increasing enemy movement speed combined with the buffing aliens and our relatively high curse does mean that enemies are going to be just zipping around the field, but our healing and defensive stats are quite solid at this point, so we should be able to survive those effects. Get that loot alien kill, which is great. Once again, also Jerky, just worth its weight in gold. I'm going to recycle the Lighthouse, so we don't have any use for engineering, and Corrupted Shard we will take. I could just take 5 melee damage. I think that's still the stat that increases our damage output the most, so let's just grab that. Explosive Turret and Turret are both kind of interesting, but I think we're going to pass on them. We don't need ways to clear small enemies now, we just need ways to survive or kill the bosses faster. Hunting Trophy at this point, definitely not worth grabbing, but I'll take a Baby Gecko and a Tentacle. Sharp Bullet could help with lifesteal and so on. I did pass a bandana earlier, but I think we're going to pass on that. Okay, Night Goggles, obviously, this is the Hunter's item, so it is exactly what we want here, increasing our range, boosting our crit chance, and while it does cost me HP and armor, definitely a real downside, the upsides are really strong for this character, and hopefully will be enough to help us kill the bosses. I think it will still be much safer if we can kill the bosses, compared to just trying to tank through them. And with 350 damage crits, I think we maybe can. At this point, our healing is strong enough that I can just kind of run at the enemies, and I'm just making sure to kill most of the brain bugs so that the enemies that we're running at don't have multiplied HP. Of course, a cursed buffed enemy could still put a serious dent in us, so I need to be a little careful of that, but mostly we're just trying to maximize our income before we go to the boss fight. I'm going to take 4 armor here. We do have the Ashes, which was reducing our armor. Take a Cacti Club. Plant I'll grab. Wings, 3% damage, but we've already got... it gives us 3% damage from the Hunter passive, but we've already got enough movement speed, so I think we're going to pass on the Wings. Tentacle is more crit chance and more healing, so I will take that. Baby Gecko, we don't really need at this point. It is 1% damage, but we're going to pass on that as well. Baby Squid would have been great earlier. Goat Skull, it does cost me crit chance, but melee damage still really important, so we'll pick it up. Triangle of Power, there's no way we can avoid taking hits enough to make the Triangle of Power good, right? So I think we're going to roll past that. I'll roll past Black Belt as well. 3 melee damage for 155 is pretty weak. Cute Monkey is a good way to heal. Schmoop is a good way to increase our defensive stats. So I guess I'll take these. It does decrease our damage output, but this does give us a solid backup plan of just tanking the bosses if we need to do that. I actually shouldn't have re-rolled there. It cost me a max health because I have padding. So I re-rolled just for fun to see what the items were, but with padding, obviously, that's a mistake. 1 HP shouldn't matter, though. Let's go to wave 20. Okay, where's some bosses? So I'm going to try to kill these bosses, of course, because that's just less time I have to spend dodging. But I think we're strong enough at this point that we should be able to do that fairly easily and safely. Although I am taking a couple hits. Let's go grab these consumables. We can pre-heal with the jerky, because the healing lasts for 4 seconds. So, okay, I need to be very, very careful now. Let me go grab this full heal. Just took 3 hits in a row there because of bad movement, and so did put myself in a slightly dangerous spot, but we made it. All right, let's take a look at our items here. So, finding 5 cakes, great for the hunter. Definitely needed that to get to a reasonable HP. I'm also pretty happy with having passed the handcuffs, because having our max health be stuck at 28 would have been quite risky, especially in those later waves. The Lost Ducks were great early. The Pearl, we never found bonus pearls, and we ended with only 60 luck, so it was fine. It wasn't amazing. Obviously, we're happy we spent 20 materials on it, but I'd have loved if the Pearl had kind of snowballed for us. 142 off recycling machine, so it was okay. It doubled its money, which is kind of what you want. 14 lifesteal off decomposing flesh. You can see why I prioritized this item so heavily. It just gave us so much healing. Decomposing flesh, just an incredible item. 269 healing off the tentacles. Nice. We've got 11 barnacle levels, so that's an incredible boost to our economy and really helped us get the stats to make the later parts of this game much smoother. The ball and chain was great. The Scared Sausage only dealt 9k damage, but it was still a nice boost in the early game, so I'm pretty happy with having picked that up. Only 135 off bag. Admittedly, this was a late bag, but still, I feel justified in feeling a little aggrieved that we ran so cold on crates this run, because this was already a hard run, and then we got a little unlucky. And then hunting trophy, 339 materials, something like 50 of those were probably in the last wave, but I guess with padding, they were still relevant, although less relevant. But still, the hunting trophy was a good purchase. And then Kraken's Eye and Ashes were excellent finds in the late game. Coupon only saved 68, so I did buy that at full price, so it didn't end up being good. I bought it out of habit, but we were pretty low economy, so it didn't end up being helpful for this character. But yeah, there we go. That's the Hunter with Cacti Club. Definitely a solid weapon for the character. Not what I would choose as sort of the easiest weapon. That's probably crossbow, but a solid pick. And if you're struggling with crossbow hunter, picking a primitive weapon like Cacti Club can definitely help make the downsides of this character less pronounced. All right, my friends, I hope that you've enjoyed this run, and of course, if you have, feel free to leave a comment and hit like. It helps me out with the algorithm, so I appreciate you taking the time to do that. And you can subscribe to my channel for more Brotato and other strategy game analysis. Cheers, folks. I'll catch you next time.